Hi everyone, so welcome back, and today we are going to do a little bit of painting. So I thought it might be fun if we painted this chameleon that you can see here. So first things first, what we're going to start off with is our basic shapes to look at our chameleon in terms of, and then we're going to respond accordingly. So first things first, I'm going to draw out my shapes. Then I'm going to have a look at my chameleon and I'm going to have a think about the main shape that I see. So I think the biggest part of the drawing should be its body, and I'm going to say that that's like an oval shape, and I'm going to try and get that kind of to fit in around maybe there. So that's my main first shape. Then after that, then I can see the chameleon's head, and I'm going to say that it's maybe the front of its face is kind of like a triangle-ish shape, and it connects into the oval like this. And his eye is there. And then I can see there's a triangle shape going up, and that kind of connects into its mouth some way, like so. So there's its head shape, and I'm gonna make my chameleon have a little smile, and its eye is here. Like so. Then the tail, which is a spiral, is coming from here, going around. Like so. And it's a double spiral like that. Okay. Now the next part I think I'll draw is the branch that the chameleon is walking along. So I'm going to draw a line, and then I'm going to make it sort of a rectangle, sort of a shape like so. Like that. Okay, so its hand. So its little hand I can see is like a rectangle that's curving around the branch like that. And it's then going up and into the body shape. So there's the first one, the first arm. Then its second arm is here going down, and I can see a little thumb going around the branch, and its fingers going there, like so. So I'm going to rub away now the parts of the branch that I don't need anymore, so that they look like the feet, I guess. Then I can see that there is another foot here, and it's sort of twisted, and it's got little toes on. There's some there, and there's some here. It kind of looks strange. And then it's got its foot going up into its body. Now this part of its body I'm going to draw, and the feet are going up into it, and this arm is connecting up into the shoulder part up here. So it's going to look longer because it's on the side that we can see. Then I can see that its leg here is going down, and I've maybe made his tail a bit too short, but that's okay. And I'm going to have its leg going down into its body like so. And I'm going to rub away. I can see there's tiny little zigzag spikes going all around the top of the body and into the tail, and I'm going to fade them around. And there's the tail. I'm going to heavy in the branch like so. So there is my basic chameleon. I'm going to draw its back here so that the spines are a little bit different and they kind of stick out. Now there's a kind of a funky pattern on this fella here where he's got a little part, a little stripe on the side, but I actually think it might be more interesting to maybe make up my own pattern. So I'm going to make like shapes on this chameleon's body, and you can maybe, if you wanted a more realistic effect, you could have a more realistic effect, but I'm going to make kind of stripes like so. I think that looks kind of cool. Okay, so now I'm ready now to use my paint here. So these are watercolor paints, and you get a little bit of water on a brush and then you can just wet them back. And when you wet them, then they'll be able to paint for you. So I'm going to start with this nice bright green. And it depends on the chameleon that you pick, that you want to draw and then paint, because it might be a different coloured chameleon. So you do the main colour that you see first. So I'm thinking that my chameleon is going to have yellow shapes on its body. My brush is a bit small there, so I'm going to use a much bigger brush to kind of get the main body shapes painted in. So I'm just spreading in the paint now with some water, like so. Okay, so that's the first layer of watercolour paint. Now, I might decide this darker green that you see here, I might decide I might want to put some little scales on. And you can see here I'm just putting little tiny dots of paint on to my chameleon's body. And you can see that because some of the paint is still wet, it's actually going to spread a little bit, and it kind of can give a really cool effect. And it's going to just come out splotchy, and that's okay. And it's very hard to kind of tell what it's going to do. So if you don't like kind of having something that's going to not be predictable on your work, then don't put it on, because once it's on, it's not going to come off. But I actually kind of like the surprise that you get when you put a little tiny dot on and it spreads a little bit. Now I've only put a little tiny bit of water on, not much, so that it just spreads nicely. And I'm also using green, dark green on top of green, because they match, and that if it doesn't look great, I can try and maybe fix it a little bit. So that part was a bit too dry, so maybe I'm gonna have to fix this part here. So you see, when you've got like a dark green on a light green, it'll just kind of fade in. So if you don't like it, you can kind of change it easily, because you can just wet it again and it'll mix in. Okay, so I'm going to try that again. Let's see what we get. Now it's spreading there a lot nicelier. Oops. There was a big blob of water there, but that's okay. That can be a bigger shape. Now, so for the eye, I'm going to make the eye maybe patterned. the dark green. And that's like the chameleon's eyelid, I think. And this little small brush that I have is very good for detail, like this. But you don't want to put too much water on your brush as well at the same time, because then all the colours will mix. And you'll be very less detailed then. So there's a little black dot for the eye. And there's a little black dot for the nose there too. Okay, so there's the main body. Now, I'm going to maybe get some nice yellow, and I'm going to wet my yellow back a little bit, and then I'm going to start painting in the yellow shapes. And I'm going to use my smaller, more detailed brush for the yellow because the big brush is too big. Now, yellow is part of the ingredient of making green, so it'll blend into the green if I kind of go over a bit on the edges. So that'll be all right. And I'm using the point of the brush now to paint into the triangle shapes that I have so that it's neater. Okay, and the same again here. And you'd be surprised about how much paint that you'll actually need, and how much you'll have to dry back or wet back your paint block, especially with dry paint like this. It does take a lot of water to get a nice amount of paint onto your picture. Okay. Now, if I want to do some coloured spots on my yellow shapes, I might like to use some orange to do that. And I'll need to work quickly. So my yellow is kind of drier now. So it's not going to spread the orange so much, which is okay because it can be a different texture to the green. But if you wanted to spread, you could wet your yellow a little bit. Or if you had two brushes working at the same time, that would be a good idea too. Okay, so for my branch, I'm going to wet my two different browns. So I've got like a sort of regular brown, which is sort of like a reddy colour, a reddy brown. And then there's this yellow kind of sand colour, sandy brown, yellow ochre. And I'm going to do the yellow ochre first because it's a lighter colour for the branch. And if you wet your paper with a wet brush first, like this, and then you get your paint, it'll spread onto the paper much better sometimes. So you're using less paint. Sometimes you might want to use thick paint, so you don't have to wet it every time if that's not what you want. So there's the first layer there of that. And then my darker brown, I'm going to now draw with my brush kind of like a pattern, I guess, all over the branch to kind of give it a wood effect. And that's going to look really cool. Okay, so I'm nearly done. I mean, I could be finished now if I wanted, but I actually want to apply a nice blue sky because I have a very plain background on my photo, and I think a blue sky would look really good. I'm just going to rub away my basic shapes like so, and I'm going to now, with my bigger brush, try and be careful to get my detailed areas, and then I'm going to paint in a light coat of light blue. And I think that looks really nice. That sky effect. I mean, if you wanted, you could add in like leaves and flowers as well. I forgot a little part there. And because I put some colour already on the paper, I can actually just wet my brush, my bigger brush, and I can spread it like this too. Okay, and if I wanted some leaves, I could use my green now. I'm going to use my dark green, and I'm going to put some leaves in like this. I don't even really have to draw them if I didn't want. I could even use the shape of my brush to make a leaf as well. And I could even mix the greens together. Like so. If I really wanted as well, I could get some black and I could even outline some of the leaves like this too, to make them stand out a little bit. You could do that with a colouring pencil after it's dry too, or you could do some crayon. Okay, so there's my finished drawing. So good luck with that, and I can't wait to see what you guys do. See you soon. Bye.